Welcome to Visionary Ventures, where today we're exploring the transformative world of finance with Beth Clay, a visionary financial mentor based in Dubai. Beth is renowned for turning financial anxiety into empowerment, guiding individuals and families toward a future filled with security and prosperity. Let's dive deep into her story and uncover the secrets to financial freedom. First of
Thanks,
all,
Carl.
thank you so much, Beth, for being here on this special episode where I'm recording from Mumbai currently at the West End Poway Lake. So thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. And I'm really looking forward to understand exactly your journey, what you've done, and everything that you're currently doing, which is pretty amazing.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you today.
So, Beth, making a significant career change involves a lot of internal dialogue. Can you describe a moment of doubt and how you overcame it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that as you mentioned, obviously, my career, I've embarked on a brand new journey, obviously creating a business. And when I look back at my kind of career to date, it's always been quite a steady journey. I built up quite a solid foundation in terms of building a career, both working within the UK government, but also in one of the biggest international PR brands out here in the region as well. So I've come from quite a steady background in terms of building that, and obviously it's taking the leap to kind of build a business around financial wellness has been a challenge, but obviously a huge opportunity for me. And I suppose the kind of the doubt and that sort of sense of, it is huge. I've been kind of, as I mentioned, about 16 years now in kind of 60 government and corporate, and always had that steady paycheck every single month. And so for me, taking that leap of faith has been tricky, and it's kind of had that, you're always going to have those doubts at the back of your mind, like, what if it doesn't work out? Like, how can you go without having that stability and that
You're,
security that
you're
we've had?
literally leaving your comfort zone, your security blanket, and all of that,
Exactly.
and hopping into the unknown. But is it really an unknown for you?
So you're right. I mean, in terms of, this has taken years in the making. So gosh, it's taken me like all throughout kind of my 20s, 30s, kind of into that kind of financial coaching sphere. And I should have said, obviously, a lot of what I do is that holistic financial coaching piece. So naturally, I've trained in that area as well, and to be able to kind of give that support to both individuals, groups, and corporates as well. So I have had a lot of that experience, but I think it's still that unknown territory of, with any business that you go into, there's going to be ups and downs and peaks and troughs and those sort of things. And it's, as I said, coming from something that was so secure and stable in the sense of, as I said, knowing every single month when the paycheck, how much the paycheck was going to be, that's always been quite a challenge, even though I know inside I've had that determination. And I know that's one of my biggest skills, is kind of putting everything into everything, so that, the one thing I'm driving, so I know it's going to be successful, but it's those times of, like I say, taking that and leap into the unknown. We all will face that at every element of our life. And I talk a lot about that kind of financial uncertainty as well, that we encounter at other elements at different aspects of our career and our kind of business journey. But it's still for all of us. And I suppose that's always that, you know, every single one of those, no matter how confident we feel in ourselves, still has that little inner voice, sometimes that inner critic saying, can you really do this? Can you really do this?
Exactly.
And it's quietening that voice and really saying to ourselves, actually, and do you know what? I am capable to do that. I've proven myself. Yes, it is a known territory, but I can make this work and I can make this a success.
And talking about these voices and all these mental blocks, can you tell us a bit, how do you tackle these things with your clients when they face them? How how do you teach them to confront their financial fears?
Yeah, so a lot of this, in terms of, particularly when we talk about financial, with a lot, I mean, with a lot of areas of our lives, a lot of this comes back to our childhood, and where those what I call external influences, where they come from, and why are we feeling that sort of way. So when clients come to me and say to me, "I'm rubbish with money. I just can't do it. I can't do it." Why do you think that way? What is that voice telling you, and where's it coming from? When in your life have you had those moments when it's gone disastrously wrong, but also, when has it gone right? Because it will have gone right. And it's looking at that and really thinking through the different lens and really taking a backward step and thinking, actually zoom out. Where in my life are things, where have I managed those money? Because we all will have done in every element of our life. And for the most part, often we're too hard on ourselves and kind of find those times when perhaps we've slipped up on a credit card bill or slipped up with like a different loan or things like that. And we really hold it against ourselves, or we don't know enough. So this is where a lot of this comes through in terms of, I don't know enough about investing, therefore I'm not great at managing my money, or I should be growing it, but I don't know how to. So we tackle all those different elements and really question, firstly, where are they coming from? Where are those elements in your life so you can address them? Thinking through how money in particular was discussed in the home, and how you were brought up, and where you have seen those different, where those money messages are coming from in particular, so that you can address all those different things and see it from a different lens, so that you can really provide you with that outer perspective as well. So we go through it's a journey, a lot of this is a journey, but we come out the other side with, this is how we're going to address it. These are the ways in which we can quieten those voices. And as I said, sometimes it's that, understanding that the value in yourself, that self-worth piece, but also that investment in knowledge as well, and the education piece, and how being equipped with those different areas and those goals and those tools and those resources, every single one of us can be good with money if we allow ourselves to be. So it's, as I said, it's a journey, and kind of really thinking through where those questions are coming from and how you're kind of feeling about money, and developing that stronger relationship with it, so you come out the other side with a strong relationship with it and being able to manage your finances on your own and feel that independence.
Amazing. And in what ways do you think has your own financial journey influenced your approach to mentoring others?
Yeah, so this is where I very much I start out with, particularly when I do a lot of the talks and workshops with people, is I very much go quite personal and tell them about my journey. And, this came from my own childhood and my upbringing, where my father was amazing at money, really good. And, we were taught really well in the home about the value of money. Now, he was a financial director of several different firms. And so I always remember him, in the 90s on the IBM, like old computer that was sat in the hallway, like
Yeah.
checking on the stock market every single night. And that's like, I remember hearing stocks and shares, but never really knowing what they were
So
or
it
how it
really
worked.
started with you since your childhood and at a
It
younger
really has.
age. Okay.
Exactly. But the point being that the really turning point was, he sadly passed away really suddenly in my latter teens. And because he'd handled all the finances so well, my mum never really needed to get involved in that part of the process. And all of a sudden, overnight, she's taken on a completely different role whilst having to manage, like, look after three children. And that was a huge thing, particularly for me to kind of experience and see that. I mean, thankfully, my father has got us in a good place, but actually, I realised at that point it was a pivotal time moment for me in terms of saying, well, I need to teach myself this, and I need to make sure that I'm never in that situation where that anything happens to a partner, husband, or whoever in my life. I know how to manage those finances and I know how to deal with it. So I've been, as I said, I've been on my own journey, obviously educating myself around money and the relationship and that side of stuff, and obviously naturally coaching others. And my whole part is, and particularly when I talk to a lot of women in general, and particularly in this region as well, is please just take the time to understand how to manage money, and how to have those conversations with your other half in the relationship, so that you are equipped. Should anything happen to you, you know what to do in those sort of situations. So, as I said, that's been a really big learning curve for me. As I said, I've always had to learn from that perspective and always manage money myself ever since like my, latter teens. So, as I said, in my kind of early, well, when I remember at university, I wasn't brilliant at money. I'm going to be honest with you. It was back in the day when store cards were, a thing where, they used to address like students, like the marketing for students. It's like, buy these store cards and you can get 20% off. And, I got into kind of not debtors, so to speak, but I kind of racked up a few of these store cards back in, my university years, and suddenly realized that dresses and things that I was buying, was so costing me over 100 or hundreds of pounds, because of how long it took me to kind of pay them off. And that was quite a big learning curve for me in terms of, gosh, how have I got into this situation? And kind of that guilt, I suppose, of, I know what would my dad say if I was in this situation? So that was something that I had to address, and some of those sort of money demons almost, that I had to overcome. But as I said, because I've had to always been on, on my own, standing on my own feet, I've had to manage money in my own terms, and obviously coming into relationships as well, having those conversations about how we can manage them as a couple, and where, where we can both come with, often it's separate financial goals, but how can we kind of address those together? So
So it's safe to say that education plays a huge role into preparing you and prepping you and your surroundings, your whole situation, your family, and everything that goes in between. Uh, it all starts at the educational level. Since
it
you're young,
yeah.
since later stages, I don't know, but that's all I'm getting from the prepping and the work, right?
Yes, you're totally right. It is a lot of that. Is that education piece and investing in your own kind of knowledge, and that's front and center. I think being open as well to, the idea of kind of growing money as well, and looking at different avenues. And as I said, a lot of that piece and a lot of the work that I do with people is the money psychology side of stuff, which I find absolutely fascinating. And as I said, how each and every one of us naturally kind of leans towards a different money personality, and being familiar of that. So I think it's more kind of, as I said, really observing how you are with money, how you handle money, what the habits are that you naturally have, and how you, if you want to improve those, what are the areas in which you can do that for. So I think it's a few different elements. And as I say, that's kind of part of the journey that I take clients on as well.
I love how we tackled all the mental aspects when it goes to money, finances, education, and all that. I would like to hop onto another segment that I really like, which is the physical health. And balancing a demanding career and a personal health can be challenging. And what's your strategy for integrating fitness or any kind of movement into your busy schedule? And
Yeah.
how does Beth, the entrepreneur, the coach, like you have a lot of roles, how can you juggle in between all of that and stay healthy?
I mean, you're totally right. If I'm totally honest with myself, it's probably the one area that I would love to do more on and work on more on. Um, I know for sure I need to definitely find the physical side, and particularly for me, you're totally right. I have such a demanding, had very demanding corporate role, building the business. It has been high, and also a mum of two little ones. It is hard to find the time to do those, to kind of focus on myself in terms of from a physical aspect. But what I always try and do, as much as I possibly can, is I always set the day with a walk. So where I live, it's quite nice. We're quite near to the desert, but it's lovely to kind of go every single morning. I try and just clear my head, and it's mostly for my own sort of, as I said, setting the tone for the day. So clearing my head and getting to that. And for me, it's that movement piece. So even if it's just 30 minutes in the morning, I always try whatever I can. And often, sometimes it might be like 6 o'clock in the morning that I have to go and do that. But just trying to factor in that walk, that I can just go, just feel like I'm moving along, like going in a general direction. And sometimes I do find, for me as well, it's one of the most creative times in the day. So allowing my mind to kind of think of different things, and different things will enter, and I'll be like, often it's like, oh, I need to find my phone to write that down. By the time I'll come back, often I'll come back with a few ideas for different areas. But I do try and do a walk. If I'm honest, I would love so much to do more. In my mind, I've always wanted to like take up reformer Pilates. It's always been something I've loved to do. I do try and do yoga when I can, and I very much kind of enjoy, and probably this is more some the other side of things, but sound healing I found from me has really, really helped me, and particularly something I've kind of discovered in the last sort of year or two. I know that's not necessarily kind of physical fitness, but it's something that I've kind of helped when it's kind of integrated with yoga as well. It's been super helpful for me. I do enjoy once a week I try and go for a run. So I used to do quite a few half marathons and things back in the UK,
Oh,
but it's something I've slightly neglected in recently years. But I do enjoy a run, and I try and go once a week as much as I can. But as I said, it's the one area, if I look at my whole life, I feel like I try and find a good balance given that how stretched I am. But it's one area I'd love to do more and spend more time on.
yeah, but at the same time, no one has it all right, you know? Like, you cannot focus and be great at everything and all areas of your life. Sometimes you're gonna focus more on your business, sometimes you're gonna focus more on your family, sometimes you're gonna focus on yourself. It's all about balancing and fluctuating between focus, when to give more, when to give less, when to focus more, and all of that. So yeah, it's truly understandable juggling between all of these at the same at the same time, while also working on some new stuff. So basically, well done. I don't know how you do it all and you find time for it, but can you tell me how, like, when you work out, when you do these yoga, sound healing, pilates, run, walk, do you feel like it really affects your performance and decision making and your business and all of that? Do you feel any difference?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as I said before, I find the walk in the morning, if I do that first thing in the morning, that's when my mind just naturally becomes creative. And I find as well, like the run that I do on a Saturday as well, if I pump up with a load of music, I try and put on like the latest soundtrack, or whatever it is. I do find that ideas come, like I visualize. So I visualize like when I'm running, almost like those different scenes come to me, and particularly, I don't know what it is about, like the music or whatever is happening. But as I said, I kind of allow my mind to kind of go those different creative places and visualize myself being in different scenarios. And that visualization piece whilst running has really helped me. And I've been able to come back from that. And sometimes, even though I'm rushed and the next thing happens, I might quickly digest a few things. Oh, I've just thought about, this creative angle I want to take, or this, that, and the other. And I haven't already thought about that. So, as I said, the walk and the run definitely does help my creativity for sure. And I definitely would encourage people to do that. And I wish, as I said, I wish I could do it more. But that's one of the reasons why I try every single day to fit in a walk. As I said, I don't really do much in the afternoons or evenings, apart from the sound healing, as I said. But so I don't know. I don't know whether there's more that you could be doing in that sort of time of day that would allow yourself to kind of think a bit differently. But as I say, for me, it's those early morning sort of runs and walks that really, as I said, I've noticed so much how more productive but also more creative I can be.
Amazing. I love it. Moving a bit towards philosophical or spiritual beliefs, if you might say, discuss how your spiritual views have shaped your professional ethos in the financial sector.
Yeah, so I think, if I'm honest, like it's been quite a new thing for me, but in the last kind of year or so, I've kind of been quite open to manifestation, the law of attraction. And I know that naturally, I probably was already doing it in other elements of my life, but a dear friend who and a coach in that area has kind of walked me through different areas of my life, and I was very much open to kind of like, at first quite skeptical, but the more I kind of lent into it, and the more as it goes back to that visualization piece and around kind of very much the energy that you give out and how that kind of comes back to you, I've seen so
So
much
you
as
do
a result.
believe in energy?
Yes, yeah, for sure. Like I
Okay.
definitely I feel that, particularly when I look at the kind of the work that I do and what I'm able to kind of put out there, that when I feel most productive and when I feel that I can give so much energy to building the business, I find that a lot of that does come back, and I definitely feel that the people that I've given energy to as well, I've attracted that back as well. So different elements of my life. So I
Interesting.
think I've lent into this area as well because, as I said, leaving corporate and having that stability and the paycheck and all those things we talked about right at the beginning, to then going
Mm-hmm.
off on my own. And there's been so many people, the naysayers and everybody who's like, is it really going to work? What a risk. How is it going to turn out? What if it doesn't work out? What if, what if, what if? So setting myself on that tone that, really believing that if I put the energy out there, that it will all happen and it will all follow through. And I can attract those positive opportunities and they will come back to me. I definitely feel that it has happened and it's helped. So I've learnt more and more. For me, sometimes that's reading at nighttime before I go to sleep, reading a different chapter. Obviously, I was reading Roxy's book. I've read The Secret. There's various other books, and sometimes I've reread them. And there's the same message, but sometimes falling asleep for me, like that really comforting part of, you know, as I said, the feeling grateful about everything in your life and the energy and the attraction, the energy that you're attracting, it's really helped me and supported me in that sense. I definitely think the other area, and one of the things that I talk, and I do bring this element into the financial coaching side as well, is gratitude. So I look at every element of my life, and even though I was naturally doing it before, I was naturally doing it, but not sort of really consciously I make sure I consciously do that now. So every single morning, I write a gratitude journal for every single thing I'm grateful for in my life right now. And that really helps me set the tone for the day. So every single morning, without fail, regardless of whether the kids are screaming at me, I try and just spend a little bit of time writing just one small page and about all the things that I'm grateful for and all the things that I want to attract into my life as well. And that's really helped. It genuinely has. Like when I think about it, and this is what I encourage people to do, is I talk about money affirmations as well, but thinking through when we do a lot of the coaching sessions, like rather than fixating necessarily on like wanting more money, but like being grateful for the other things in your life. And when you're grateful for, let's say, your family, your health, all those different elements, you naturally attract the paychecks or things like that. They naturally come back to you, and I do strongly believe that. But that has been a learning journey for me. It's something that I must admit I was probably quite skeptical right at the start, but the more I kind of got coached
What
around it.
changed your perspective around money blocks and all the psychological, energetical beliefs around money and finances?
So I suppose when I would say, for me, I haven't necessarily had that many money blocks. I guess it's more other elements of my life where I've had like other blockages, so as to speak. But I think sometimes, yeah, I mean, I have had, if I look back at my kind of 20s and kind of early 30s, I suppose, very much I kind of felt that. And this comes back to the salary perspective and things, like I was only worth a certain salary, or because we were
Mm-hmm.
told that that's what it was, and that, that growth mindset, so as to speak. So even though I was growing money through different little investments and things like avenues, that growth mindset of, I am worthy of this. I am like, I can, attract more into my life and those different things. That has been a journey for me, because I think we're so programmed often that, if we go down one career path and that's what the salary is going to be, and there's no further getting out of that, and that's how you're going to be at that level for this amount of time. And, and obviously that then put those restrictions almost. And I think the thing that obviously, as I said, I've kind of worked through is that, the opportunities are endless. Whatever you
Mm-hmm.
put into something, you can attract even more things out of that. And then, so as I said, I do generally believe that, but that's been my own journey with things as well. As I said, I definitely feel the more you give out there, the more it comes back. And there's so much material that kind of quantifies that as well and kind of backs that up. So yeah, I think, as I say, I'm not necessarily had a lot of those kind of money blockages, so to speak, but yeah, in terms of my self-worth and things like that, yeah, I think I've had my own journey with it. And as I said, the last couple of years for me in particular, since kind of really absorbing a lot of that, the manifestation techniques and things like that, is kind of, I've seen a big shift in things. And particularly when I even look back in like the last year of where I've come, like, and people remind me that all the time, they're like, look at where you were a year ago and look where you are now. And yeah, and sometimes you forget, and they say, don't you? I think the saying is that you think that you'll accomplish so much more in a day, but you underestimate how much you'll accomplish in a year. And then, yeah, as I said, it's been great.
It's all about zooming out at the end of the day and seeing the different steps that we've done along this whole journey, which is long. And yeah, we're so immersed in the day to day problems and everything that goes in between, and we really don't see the bigger picture. I love it. If we're if we're summing up this small section, like what kind of advice would you give someone that is struggling in their finances, but in terms of mental shifts, physical health, if any, and philosophical, spiritual beliefs as well?
As I said, I think a lot of it does come down to self-worth and really thinking through and really recognizing the value in yourself and really thinking through that you are worthy and you are valuable, and everything that you put out there will come back to you and it will be positive, and thinking about being positive and grateful. And I think that's one of the things, the gratitude piece, being grateful for your health, grateful for your family, your relationships, grateful for everything that you have in your life right now. And that genuinely will have a huge ripple effect on everything else in your life. So I would really think through that kind of self-worth, self-value, and also be grateful for everything in your life, and you will see the huge results and they will come back to you. As I said, in the financial piece, obviously there's a lot more that we can kind of talk through on that. But invest in yourself. So invest in your health, invest in your education, so your financial education particularly as well. So take those first little steps today. Believe that you can do it, because there's nothing that should stop you. If you put yourself out there and set the vision, set the direction, you will get there.
Thank you for that. Moving a bit towards some marketing strategies. So, Beth, with your background in PR, what unconventional marketing tactic have you found surprisingly effective for financial education?
Yeah, it's an interesting one actually. I think for me, and this is very much where the kind of journey came, is on social media. And obviously there are a lot of what we call like finfluencers, financial influencers out there, but a lot of them are using
Not much,
TikTok.
though. It's
There,
growing
yeah,
by the day.
it is growing.
Everyone now is giving away the financial advisors. Buy this,
Yes.
invest in that, and yeah. I get that aspect, but the full-on financial advisors, they're not that many.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think you see a growing trend on TikTok, and you do see a few more on kind of Instagram as well. But for me, what I wanted to do is show the raw side of money. And for me, that was kind of very much when I think back to my journey in terms of, I thought back about what clients would really want to see, and it was someone approaching money through a different lens and just making it accessible and relatable. So not trying to sell a product, not trying to push anything in your face, just saying like what's on everyone's mind, because money is always, has been, still is seen as a taboo topic. So really pushing like
It is.
yeah, exactly. And I think so many people think that, which is I wanted to break that taboo. I wanted to have those raw conversations about money. So started out doing that obviously on Instagram, talking about every element and kind of money conversations in couples, things like that, how money is handled, and those conversations you never wanted to have. So as I said, I started doing mini sort of reels. I think we started out with the financial wellness Wednesdays, I used to call them, and it was just pockets and snippets every single week into a different topic, and that really took off. And I got invited onto different podcasts and radio and different outlets as a result of that, and asked to do talks and things like that. All of that came from kind of that visual element of kind of being out there, having those conversations. And obviously I built my own podcast as well, which has really taken
Lovely
off.
podcast. I
Thank you
really
so
like
much.
the 5-minute segments and tips and pieces. I love the
Exactly.
format.
Thank you. And that's what I wanted, because we are all of us so busy and in our lives. And sometimes you just need a reminder or a little tip, like a couple times a week, that kind of sets that journey and sets the tone. So that's what I wanted to provide in terms of as you say, like short snippets addressing one topic in particular, whether that's debt, whether that's, as I say, those money conversations, whether that's committing to paying for things, and every conversation that you might have in your head and you are too afraid to speak to somebody about it. And there were so many of us, because when I started talking about it, particularly on LinkedIn as well, as I say, I've addressed it on LinkedIn and I think I'm probably I don't see many people out there having those raw conversations on a platform like LinkedIn, but I've wanted to become a leading authority in that field so that I can, like I say, lead the debate and lead those kind of conversations. And honestly, it really, like the interaction engagement that you get from being vulnerable and saying like, this is how people are feeling, and the amount of people who've come back to me and said, oh my goodness, like you are addressing something that's been on my mind, or we've had that conversation that's like in our family, or everything. And people have come to me and saying, thank you. Like nobody's talking about this sort of stuff and nobody has. But I think being, as I said, exposing those raw conversations that's on everyone's mind, but you don't want to be seen to having that conversation with your friend or your wife or whatever it is, or your colleague, things like, salaries or anything else like that. I wanted to develop a platform that allowed people to have that. So yeah, I think from, as I said, for me, like in terms of marketing perspective, opening, being vulnerable and raw and having those honest conversations, opening up topics that people are too afraid to kind of talk about in their social circles has really helped. And I think that's the main thing. And that's the main thing with everything with marketing: build trust and have that honest conversations. And as I say, I'm not trying to push any product down your throat. I'm just out there having conversations, trying to make you, equip you with the tools and resources to become better with your but not just with your finances in general, but your relationship with money. So that, because that is so important, particularly in couples as well. And that's one of the areas that I do a lot of couples therapy in, is you get finances right, you've got a heck of a lot of the relationship right. Trust me.
Yeah, it's more than 50%, I believe. You know, a lot of divorce cases, or even like before that, like couple trouble, like, they're fighting
Yeah.
over money, finances, material
Yeah, unfortunately,
things.
unfortunately, finances is the number one breakup ahead of affairs. Would you believe? Which is mad.
Yeah, which is crazy indeed. Talking about all of these social media things that you're doing, how are you crafting these compelling messages and inspiring them to create financial action planning?
So, in terms of developing the kind of content pillars, do you mean in
Yeah,
general?
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot
Any
of that is.
specific way, any specific angle to go at it?
So it'll depend for kind of each person, but obviously with my own kind of personal brand and really thought through kind of what are the different areas that I kind of want to evolve around and what kind of makes up money in general and all those different elements. And that's kind of where I've tackled it. And some of these are kind of naturally flow through other areas like relationship with self, relationship with family, relationship, with employees, and those different things and those different conversations. They all fall into different kind of content pillars, so as to speak. But yeah, for me, it's kind of building up, as I said, the overarching theme, which is financial wellness, but within that, all the different pillars that kind of fall within that. So as I said, I kind of want to kind of, some of them are very hybrid and move across different sections, but I've always tried to kind of form one's a particular way you're addressing yourself and everything else that kind of comes out, and then in terms of the family element and relationships and things like that. So that's generally what I would advise people really to do, is kind of think through when they are developing the overarching kind of key message. What is the main message that you want to get out there? And then what sits beneath that, and what are the pillars that you want to talk about with your different audiences, because your different audiences will want different messages as well. So you can't naturally talk about, I can't be necessarily having couples conversations with single people, for instance. So it's about kind of making sure that the right messages are there for the right audiences as well.
Great approach. And I truly believe that what you're doing is amazing. Like, that's how I discovered you and what you're doing, basically. Beth, would you say like marketing tactics that you're currently trying out is push it, keep it out there, grow organically, don't overdo it, and be authentic as much as possible, vulnerable, like you said, and basically that's it. Providing free educational content, awareness about finances is the way to go.
So that it will depend for a different person, right? In business, for me, it's
for
worked. Of
you?
course, yeah. For me, yes, it has. I definitely think the point that you've mentioned there. I hope I am as authentic and build that trust, because I think, as you say, giving a lot of value, and when it becomes down to money, it's so obviously there's so much weight that is attached to it. So it's being providing value, but providing trust. Because as we've talked about earlier, as I said, there are a lot of people pushing different money messages out there. So I hope that I built that trust and authenticity around the fact that, I'm doing this to help you and not only educate you, but build a strong relationship with your kind of, money, and that set those financial foundations for the rest of your life. So I definitely think for me, it is about being organic. I haven't put paid marketing out there. I've tried to be and there's not to say there's anything wrong with that. Like I probably will it comes through at some point, but right now I've not needed to do that. It's all been organic. And I think a lot of that is being a thought leader in this area. So putting forward my own ideas, my own thoughts around this. As I said, being vulnerable, being raw, having those authentic conversations. And that's definitely grown and propelled me, I guess, to where I am now.
Truly amazing. Thank you for sharing all your secrets with us. Moving towards the business aspects and insights. So, can you tell us a bit? I know we covered almost half of it, but I'm interested to hear it from you. What is Finance Her Well?
So, Finance Her Well is a platform that I developed to support, as I said, people to understand and manage their money and their relationship with money. So, I provide coaching and workshops to individuals, couples, groups, and also doing a lot of corporates as well. So, going into workplaces and talking to people and building up that financial well-being, because it's the number one, as we talked about already, it's the number one cause of stress, particularly in this region as well. So having those conversations and helping employees feel better about their relationship with money. I'm also building a membership model as well, so that'll be launching at the beginning of next year, which would be, because obviously I appreciate for a lot of people sometimes they can't necessarily pay for the kind of one-on-one coaching, or kind of, it is obviously quite, there's a financial commitment for financial return, but sometimes that can be challenging for people. So what I've developed is a membership model where it will be a smaller amount, subscription kind of model, where people can still get access to tools and resources and also have that accountability aspect. So a lot of people have come to me and saying that I need to be held to account. I just can't get on top of my money, or I keep seeming to spend this and I can't work it out. Or I can't sit, I want someone to turn to when I want to have a awkward conversation about money. So I want to kind of open up that to have, almost like a voice notes, like a Telegram community, so that they can send me those kind of messages as well, so I can help hold
Exactly. I
people.
wanted to ask you about some innovative approaches that you were employing inside your community and business. So, yeah, tell us a bit about these ways.
Yeah, so as I say, I think in terms of what I've looked, and this will be a model that I'm obviously going to use from next year as well, but looking at, I know a lot of membership models set up around kind of like a Telegram, so it's just a Telegram community. So they would have almost like you can ask questions within that community, but also have voice notes, and I have the option for private voice notes as well, where people kind of want to have, sometimes it's that kind of question that may come up a couple of times a month and you want to just ask it and try and get it off your chest, or get just a bit of a steer back in the right direction. So that's what I'm trying to create through that kind of membership model, which seems to be what a lot of people are asking for. So yeah, we'll see. But I think this has seemed to be the area. Obviously, I've got like a mini course on there as well about kind of money mindset and things like that. But in terms of what I think where people want a lot of that value is the accountability. So being held to account, they want to understand how to improve their finances. They just don't know often where to go, and they just need someone to say, it is okay to set up an investment account. It is okay to invest in this thing, or those sort of things. Is that sometimes people need almost like a permission slip. And sometimes like it's having that other voice or somebody to turn to say, yes, you're on the right track. It's all good. Keep going. You can get there.
Nice, 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 nice. Thank you for this. And talking about establishing a new business and going back to 16 years in the corporate world and being employed, transitioning, getting into something new for the first time. What happened at the beginning? Like any particular challenging moments that you can tell us about that you navigated?
Do you mean in terms of the business itself, or?
Yes, launching your own business, transitioning into entrepreneurship, all of that.
Yeah, I think it's, as I said, one of the things I've done, and this, it depends what your personal situation. For me, I wanted to build finance so well alongside the corporate job. So I wanted to kind of give it that start so that it wasn't something I just finished the corporate job and start building a business. For me, I wanted to test it and run it and see whether it was feasible and viable and build up that credibility in this space. Because coming from, and particularly for me, like, even though I've managed, as I'm very good at managing money and I've been trained as a financial coach in every element, I haven't got the direct accounting degree. So for me, often that was kind of like I needed to build up that trust with people so they understood that I'm very good at managing money, even though I've done corporate as well. I've managed corporate bank, like some of the biggest banks in this region, and professional services firms, and managed budgets all my career. I wanted to kind of prove that I could do this as well. So for me, as I said, I've given myself that longer term sort of view to kind of build it up alongside the corporate job and then get to the point of kind of, now I'm ready. I can do this. It's good. I've got all these different elements behind me. So I think for me, sometimes what I'm saying is if it is an unknown territory, you're building a business in something slightly different from what you've been doing for however many years, try and build that on top of the corporate job, or at least have some way of getting some income in or kind of staying at something until you really see that really start to take off. And then you can take that next step and say, now's the time. I can do this full time. I know it's going to, if I give it 100% of my time, it's really going to, shoot up and it's going to go in the right direction. So I think for anybody kind of listening, thinking, I do want to set up a business, I've got an idea in this, it's slightly different what I've been doing. Try and build up, as I said, that audience and that brand, your personal brand in that field. Build it, and sometimes if that means having to do it alongside the corporate job, just do it for, sometimes it may only be like a year, 18 months, 2 years, but try and do it from the outset. And so that you really get a feel that this is what your audience are after and it's going to work out.
And any pitfalls that you faced once you launched your own personal brand?
Pitfalls.
Nothing specific,
I
like a
think
case or something that happened that occurred.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, like in that sense. I definitely think go back to the self-doubt perspective of, I think,
So it was interior, not exterior.
yeah,
That was it.
possibly. I would
Okay.
say more interior, sort of, as I said, the self, sometimes having to overcome the self-doubt aspect of, I can do that. As I said, knowing that people will buy your product, knowing that people will, take that. And there's, like I said, it's like silencing that inner critic. Sometimes it tells you that what makes you think that you're good enough, because a lot of us, as I said before, are challenged. For many people we know come from a typical corporate background or have always been in stable, secure jobs. So when they see someone obviously going into something different, often you get those questions of like, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work out? And so my thing is obviously trying to build a kind of fund, or what I
Did
call
it
like
work out?
I would say so. I'm here talking about it now, so
Are
I hope
Are you
so.
satisfied with the outcome so far?
I am. I am. Yes, it's only up from here, and I know that obviously there's going to be bumps along the road, but it's all part and parcel of the journey. As I said, it comes back to that piece of mindset and really focusing on the things that you can control and what you can give energy to. So that's where I'm kind of focusing very much at the moment.
Okay, and how do you measure the success of your financial education initiatives?
It's a good question. I guess it's kind of, people measure success on different ways, don't they? For me, Often it's the testimonials that I get from people that I've made a difference to their lives, and I know I've been able to transform it in a certain way, and whether that's through corporates or whether
Any
that,
cases and testimonials that you can share with us?
yeah, like one of my favorite ones is kind of, I had a client who had a coaching session, like a couple of coaching sessions, and really turned around and said, I can't thank you enough for this. This is therapy to me. And I'd just been able to talk to somebody that I've never been able to talk to and get these issues that off my chest. I've never been able to do that. And you've just made me feel so much lighter. And I just, little pockets like that mean the world, because like providing that open space and that forum and those things, like as I said, to have those conversations and knowing that you can make a difference of someone who may have been bottling up an issue for years, and finally being able to relieve themselves and talk about it in a way where they're not going to be judged, in a way that they're going to kind of take action from that point, it means so much. So as I said, I get quite a few testimonials like that, which means so much to them, and how much they can say, you know, like, I've learned so much in the last 2 hours with you than I ever have in my whole, you know, the whole time that I've been in corporate or whatever, you know, there's various different things. But as I say, just knowing that you've made a big difference to people's lives and being able to steer them and get them on the right track, yeah, success for me.
Did someone really have a massive growth and change in their net worth or something?
So, I mean, that sort of thing does take time. I think the important thing that I do with a lot of people is getting them to understand their finances and really being familiar about their wider financial situation, because often there'll be things that they might not have thought about, or accounts they've forgotten about, and all those different elements, and actually showing them the bigger picture, because often they just focus on this one small thing and they forget about the other areas of their lives. So actually seeing other elements and, as I say, taking action, and then that next step in terms of whether that's okay, I feel confident, I know enough now, I can go out on my own and decide whatever I want to invest in, I can do that on my own because you've given me the tools to do that. Yeah, has made a big difference. And obviously these things take time. So, you know, I think it's not going to be one of those things where you're going to become a millionaire overnight, but actually you're helping people understand how to manage their money and what tools and resources to use, is always only ever going to have a
You don't
huge.
want to give us numbers and figures and X's and stuff like that. Okay, I get that. Nothing juicy.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, no. I mean, as I said, those sort of things are going to take. They do take time.
Okay, I'll have to ask this cheesy question then. How can one become a millionaire?
Invest, invest, invest. And whether that's investing in assets, growing money, think long term. It's all about long term. So diversify your money. I always talk about this. So diversify your money in different assets and help get your money working for you. So if you can, invest in businesses, invest in yourself as well as invest in your education. And put your money in assets where it's working for you. That's the most important thing. So building up those passive income streams through various aspects, if that's going to help you get on the way to being a millionaire. But as I said, think about it in the long term, not kind of put it in risky investments that perhaps will may fall flat the next day. So it's about, as I say, taking a longer term view and building up all those different elements in your life.
Okay, and like I know it takes a lot of time, it takes a huge dedication, but are you with the 7 revenue streams and all of these side hustles and everything? Or how do you really plan it? How do you really divide the percentage of investment portfolio? How many revenue streams should you have? Because like you said in the beginning, there's a lot of noise online, there's a lot of bullshit advices, and there's a lot of hype on, I don't know, should you be an investor in Bitcoin since 2018, yeah or no? Should you put all your money in real estate, yes or no? So there's a lot of everything, but people are being lost. What should they really do?
So, I mean, it's a challenging one, because I think it would depend on different circumstances. But I think, as I said, the most important thing, and I've gone back to that bit, is the investment knowledge and building up your education. Be familiar with that. As you say, there is a lot of advice out there, and it is really hard to navigate. I think one of the things is really thinking about long, as I mentioned, long-term and diversified. So you're right, like the average millionaire, I think they say is like 7 different income streams. So really thinking about, and it goes back to that point I just made around making your money work for you. So investing in assets, and whether that's investing in, index funds. Like I say, I'm a big advocate for investing in long-term diversified index funds, where, if you're doing it over that general sense, and it's kind of diversified across many different countries and markets and things like that, that money generally will go up. Now, this is like, don't quote me, this is obviously not financial advice, but in general, thinking about it in the longer term view when you're investing in index funds, and this is where you need to do a lot of that knowledge and understanding in the sense of just familiarize yourself, because sometimes that can feel quite intimidating, but there are ways in which you can manage it yourself and develop it on different platforms yourself, and try and think about investment through that aspect. Now, in terms of real estate, obviously some people choose real estate. I know there's different fields of thought around that. I think you have to decide what's right for you. Often people see they're buying a property as for themselves. That can obviously be a good investment, so as to speak. But if you're perhaps investing in a property to rent out, obviously that is another investment stream as well. So really thinking through, but there's obviously research behind that, where to buy property, how to kind of afford it. But if you can build up several different aspects, obviously investing in businesses as well, or different franchises and things like that. So there are many different elements, and this is where you see a lot of those millionaires and billionaires obviously investing in many different aspects, many different streams to grow their money in those different fields. But I guess it's about, if I'm honest, about really thinking about what do I feel comfortable with? What is my risk tolerance? Where can I build up my money, and start small? So my most important thing when I say to people who are scared to start is start small. Find the one that's going to work for you, and the one area. And as I said, if some people want to choose to invest in Bitcoin, that's great. The general advice, some people say invest 5% of your portfolio, so it's more diversified. But really choosing those different streams that you're able to manage and that you feel confident in, because that's the most important thing. Don't be chasing the ones that people tell you, oh, this, that, and the other. Do your research. Really think through about what's going to make me feel happy. Where can I have control over this, and where can I see those returns or higher returns over the long term? And that's the most important thing, thinking about it through those lenses.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all these valuable insights with us. Moving on to the fire questions. Are you ready?
I'll try to be.
Let's go. Risk it on stocks or play safe with bonds?
Oh, longer term perspective stocks. If you have a shorter term horizon, bonds.
Budgeting manually or using a finance app?
If you can use an app, definitely try and use an app. But I always love a good spreadsheet. I have my own budget planner. I can share that with you, so you can send that around, which is free.
Please do. Invest
But
in education or jump straight into entrepreneurship?
invest in education.
Real estate or tech startups for long-term investment?
Real estate naturally has been the. That is a really difficult one. That one.
For long-term investment, tech
Long-term investment.
startups or real estate?
I would say real estate, but tech has huge potential, so it's a tricky one.
Financial
Diversify,
book.
do both.
Okay. Financial book, classic theories or modern tactics?
Classic theories, I would say.
Pay off debt or build an emergency fund first?
Pay off debt, but you do also need to build the emergency fund at the same time. So I would try and advocate to do both. You do really need an emergency fund. But obviously it's important to think about debt. It depends what debt that you have. So if you can, try and pay down the high interest debt first, for sure.
Lease a car or buy outright for financial health?
Buy outright for financial health, but second-hand cars generally tend to give you the best. You won't lose as much money on second-hand cars, typically.
One-on-one consulting or group financial workshops?
Depends on your needs. I would say sometimes you learn more in a group, or sometimes you would do more on a one-on-one. Both are value. Both, it depends what your situation is.
Cash reserves or invest everything you can.
Make sure you do have a cash reserve for sure. You do need emergency money that you can access easily, and put into different sort of a high interest savings bucket for sure. But also have those, invest as much as you possibly can, obviously, as we talked about, to grow your money.
Retire early with less or work longer for more.
Is this something I would do? That's a
Pick
really
one.
tricky one. I would retire early, I think, but I still enjoy working, so I probably won't do that.
Bonus question one. Dave Ramsey or Ramit Seth?
Rami Seth.
Amazing. Yes, it's been enlightening, truly. For those inspired to take their financial understanding to the next level, how can they reach out to you for guidance or attend any of your workshops or everything you're doing?
Yep, so you can reach out to me on Instagram at Finance Her Well. I'm Beth Clay on LinkedIn, and also you could see my website, which is Finance Her Well.
Amazing.
And also tune into the podcast as well, twice a week, 5 minutes to Finance Well, available on Apple and Spotify.
Tune in. It's an amazing 5 minutes and it's full of valuable insights. Thank you so much, Beth Clay, for being on this special episode. And we stay in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. It's been great to chat to you today, Carl.
Bye bye.